So I'm going to piggyback a little bit on the conversation, Todd's presentation when he touched on NFC and NFC, a bit about the mobile payments. So I may review a little bit of that, and then what I'm going to touch on today is what we've been calling the other NFC business case. In addition to mobile payments and the idea of using your phone as a mobile device, what are other ways as a business right now over the next couple of years, how do we use this technology to solve problems that we have today, make some money on those problems, solving those problems today, but still keep kind of aligned for where we're going in the future. And we've talked about some of the different ways that the non-NFC, I'm going to focus more on NFC a little bit. As a company, Xius, we've been around for about close to 20 years. Our heritage has been in selling to wireless operators. So we grew up in the prepaid space, sold prepaid systems and then prepaid roaming systems, as well as the recharge and recharge management infrastructure for the wireless operators. Over the last couple of years, the infrastructure we sell has evolved into mobile advertising, mobile apps, and now mobile commerce as well. So I don't want to do too much of a rehash, but what is NFC, right? NFC is more or less the protocol that's been selected by the likes of the Googles and the ISIS for how we're going to allow our phone or our device to interact with another device. And this is centered around mobile payments and mobile, the idea of using your device as a wallet. Now, if you're the IT guy for a large retailer or merchant, your job right now is to solve the company's problems and the issues that are facing your marketers today. And this is before you have millions of people coming in and banging their phones up against your cash register, right? This is solving the issues of today. And using wireless technology to solve today's retail problems is not new. Think about some of the examples we've seen here. Mobile apps. How do you solve the issue of consumers buying from your store as opposed to somebody else's? Great solution. Mobile apps, doing a good job of that. Mobile advertising. How do you get the right deal in front of the customer? We saw some of that yesterday. So this is the organizations using this wireless technology to solve today's problems. And what we've seen is that one of tomorrow's problems is going to be what we're calling today mobile payments. And I think David yesterday started talking about the whole experience of what is a mobile wallet, learn a little bit more about it with different flavors of it, and then if we can all agree on kind of when people talk about an NFC-based mobile payment, I think what we're thinking about is I've got a phone, and that phone has a wallet or a payment associated with it, right? Maybe it's on the SD card, maybe it's on the SIM card, maybe it's in the firmware of the phone, maybe it's in the cloud, right? But the phone is associated with a wallet. I'm walking up to a cash register of some type, and by tapping it, I'm allowing the two to interact. And my credentials are getting passed, the purchase is being made. And this process, whether you're talking to folks at Google or ISIS or Nokia or Samsung, Vivotech, the various players in this, they more or less agree on kind of the experience, although they might take issue with where the wallet sits and what's in it and how it works, but that's more or less the experience. And like we heard yesterday, this is not the only flavor, but this is one that is predominant. And whether we like it or not, this is a direction that a lot of the big ecosystem partners, they're blazing that path. And so we look at it and we say, okay, if that's happening over the next 4 years, what do we do about it? This is a slide that I borrowed wholesale from Informa. I thought it was really pretty comprehensive about all the different players in it. It's more informational than, we can look at it. We know Google's got this whole initiative. Nokia, which is now moving over to Microsoft-based experiences, as we talked about yesterday. They've made a commitment to rolling out NFC. The payment processors, Visa with, what do they call, PayWave, and MasterCard, as we learned yesterday as well. Gemalto's working with MasterCard. So these folks are making the investments in NFC as the technology and to enable the experience. Gary, you touched on this a few minutes ago. Well, how long is it going to take? And we had some various projections. I don't know. These are all estimates and best guesses and kind of projections that folks have put together. Whether or not it's 588 million users by 2015, or whether we're going to have 12.5 million devices that accept NFC payments by 2015, or whether or not, as Todd just mentioned, you're going to have folks like Visa just in the last couple of weeks have changed that path a little bit with some of their announcements about how they expect the upgrade process to happen. And then you have Informa was talking about, well, in that same time frame, you'll end up with $70 billion of payments flowing through these NFC wallets. So that's great. Let's hope that happens, right? Let's hope all those projections are accelerated, and let's hope that continues to happen. In the meantime, what are other ways to take advantage of NFC? If you're in a process where you want to be aligned with where this is going, you want to be aligned with the industry, at least a lot of the big players in the industry, how do you take advantage of NFC experience and technology now to solve problems if you're a retailer, you're a brand, you're an operator, that you have real problems now you need to solve. And I'm going to touch on 3 of those that use what's called smart poster technology. Now, a smart poster is what you remember I was just describing the whole experience of tapping your phone on a point-of-sale device. This is the experience of tapping your NFC phone onto a poster or a merchandising display or a box of cereal or some other NFC-enabled display or device, and then you're going to interact with that device. It's not necessarily for buying something. It's not necessarily for transacting. Can be, but it can also be, in the case of passive posters, about receiving information. I want to get something from this experience. I'll talk about passive posters, then I'll talk about what we have here, and what Xius is engaged in is what we call active posters. A passive poster is more of a one-way interaction, right? And this could be, again, it could be a magazine insert. The idea is that you're walking up and you're saying, you have content, you have something that I want to consume, and I'm gonna engage and receive that information. It may be prompt me to a URL, or it may give me a coupon, or it may be to just give me a music or a trailer, but I want to receive from this. So I'm the user, I have the reader, I have the active device, and this is the passive device. And that's a great, really pretty straightforward way to implement NFC, and it's very rich in the way that you can push information out to your base, your consumers. And then there are what you would call active posters. Now, active posters are kind of the reverse of that, where the experience when you walk up to an active poster, and this is an example of one, when you tap onto the active poster, you're actually saying, okay, I'm ready to transact. I'm ready to engage this brand, or I'm ready to engage this merchant or this operator. And as the user now, one day I'll have an NFC phone. One day I'll have that Samsung Nexus S, or I'll have that Nokia model that has all the NFC capabilities. In the meantime, we've talked about stickies or stickers. We've talked about the SD cards, other ways to get NFC capable. But what you're doing when you're going up to an active poster, you're saying, I'm going to transact. So the reader is actually on the poster side, like an ATM. You walk up to an ATM, you put in your card, and you say, I'm ready to make a transaction with you. Your card is your identifier, you have a PIN. Similar user experience, although not necessarily directed around purchases. Can be, not always. I'm going to go over real quick 3 real problems that active poster technology is being used to solve in businesses today. One is around yield management in convenience stores. Now, convenience stores are growing in the U.S. I think they grew by 1 or 2% last year, about 150,000 of them. Their challenge is, when you're talking about just a couple thousand square feet of space, how do you get as much high margin good in the store and take advantage of that in a very thoughtful way. When we all have seen in these stores prepaid cards, somebody talked about the virtual pig or the virtual cow, right? Recharging video games, recharging your OboPay card or your Green Dot card, topping up your mobile phone. These are all examples of digital goods that when you walk into a convenience store have a physical element to them. You actually have to walk and grab a J-hook card off a rack a lot of times and bring it up. There's a physical element to it, and so if you're a convenience store and you're limited in space, you can maybe hang 25, 30 of those. It depends on, New York is a little bit different than the Midwest where space is a little bit less premium, but you want to conserve space. You know, the kind of these carousel racks are reserved for the big box in a lot of cases. So the idea of taking this physical inventory and creating an infinite inventory on a poster, because what you're doing is you're saying, listen, all of those things that I used to require a physical card for, I will now make available electronically to you. And the way you're going to interact with me is you're going to tap your phone. That tells me who you are. You're going to go through a process of buying one of these digital goods. I gave the example of prepaid. Could be you're buying wallpaper, ringtones, metro tickets, lottery tickets. You're buying this digital good. Because I've now taken that carousel or those, I could take 1,000 SKUs and get it down to a 2 by 3 foot space and put it on the wall. I'm allowing that convenience store to take that 6 square feet of space or 5 square feet of space and sell cigarette lighters or cold medicine, higher margin physical goods. So it's an example of yield management. This is not necessarily about using your phone with a wallet on it. It's more about using NFC to identify who you are and and kicking off a digital good that you want to receive. So that's an example of using NFC active posters for yield management. Another example that we're working on, and it's also very different when it's using NFC, using it as an identifying token, but in this case, it's around remote ordering. And we talked a lot about Starbucks and the experience of using barcode at Starbucks. Sorry, I didn't see.